let's get into this wild and funky one.
Yeah, let's do it.
Kanpai.
Kanpai. Woo. Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's like tart right up front.
Yeah, it's
and
tart. Yeah, very tart. Almost like a pomegranate, cherry, like.
Yeah, I was thinking like dark cherries.
Yeah.
This kind of reminds me of some wines.
Wow. That's really good.
That is. That's an interesting beer. That's one that's extremely unique. But it's very polarizing, though. You're either going to like it or you're not.
Thank you for turning into episode 31 of the Sultan of Slow Drip. I'm your host, the Sultan of Slow Drip, joined here by a very special guest, Jun, the proprietor of a very special bottle shop, Konbini and Kanpai, located here in Lakeview, Chicago. So I would like, since I have you on the mic today, I'd like to give you an opportunity to kind of explain what it is that you do here at Konbini and Kanpai, the name, how the business started, and just kind of what you guys are all about.
Sounds good. Thank you, Justin. My name is Jun Vishaikel. My wife and I opened up Konbini and Kanpai last August. Konbini in Japanese means convenience store, and Kanpai is like when you're drinking, you say cheers. Cheers. Not just cheers, tap and go, but just cheers. Yeah. So we had this idea of building on top of a wine shop that existed here before. It was previous iterations of wine shops, and we wanted to kind of accelerate that and progress forward what a craft bottle shop should be or can be. And we took a Japanese approach and wanted to focus in on Japanese spirits, especially sake, which a lot of people think is a rice wine, which it's not. It's an alcohol versus a wine or spirit. As we continue to build out that given concept, we brought in Japanese beers, craft beer from Chicago, kept the curated wine selections, and we kind of went through the entire process with our vendors of trying to figure out what works for us, what our palates like, what our friends' palates, our family's palates were all interested in as well. And so as part of that entire process for about a year, we finally opened up in August of 2020, or 2021.
2021.
During the pandemic. It was a
tough time to open. I opened during the pandemic as well. It's like,
it was definitely interesting and kind of an approach where it gave us an opportunity to do it. We've always wanted a small business and didn't know kind of where to start. This was a good opportunity to build on top of something that was already here. And I had a concept in mind in general, but wanted to have food involved, but at least this one didn't. So this was a good stepping stone for us for our first location. Hopefully we can build upon it and kind of move forward as well.
So let me ask you this. You guys have just a huge selection. I'm looking at walls of just beers and different drinks. You have ramune. I love it. There's all kinds of Japanese okashi snacks and whatnot. Are you typically one of the places that people come to and they're like, wow, I've never known that there were so many Japanese beer options available?
Yes. Oh, for sure. A lot of people know like the major 5 brands, Asahi, Suntory, which doesn't even get distributed here.
Yeah.
Like Premium Malts is one of like the
Premium Malts is like a big one in Japan. Yeah.
And I'm hoping, I've been talking to Suntory, I think they're bringing it over to the States. That would be great,
yeah.
It's going to start in California first, in New York, and then work its way to Chicago.
Nice.
Hopefully we're one of the first ones to be able to carry that.
I always miss the Premium Malts, and I always miss Ebisu.
Yes, Ebisu.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
That was another one where, like, when we were in Japan, we were actually next to one of their brew pubs.
Oh wow.
And so it was. I went there every day just to check out different beers and whatnot. But a lot of our beer selection here has Kawaba, has Hitachino, Yoho Brewery, which unfortunately was bought out by Kirin.
Okay.
Back in I think like 2014-ish.
Did that change things with their brew style or anything? Or?
I think like their core beers remained the same. They kind of branched off and created like a sari line where like the brewer masters were able to kind of have their creativity and like have their ideas to create new craft beers for the Japanese market and produce it in mass productions as well.
Gotcha.
To kind of stay true to what they were originally.
Okay.
Because Yoho Brewery was one of like the first craft breweries back in like '94 when they relaxed those laws.
Okay.
Because originally it was all big macro breweries because you had to produce, I think it was like over 2 million liters per year. And in '94, they relaxed that to about 60,000.
In order to even get a license, you had
Yes.
to? Oh,
Yeah.
wow, that's great. Oh, that explains a question. Because here's one thing that popped into my head. So, my wife's Japanese. I've lived in Japan, like lots of time in Japan. So I know the country very well. One thing that always struck me as being interesting is that there wasn't this big micro or nano brewing scene there, even though the zoning laws are so lax.
Yeah.
That unless you're doing something like heavy industry, you can pretty much do that business in a residential area. You can do it pretty much out of your house as long as you meet the health code, but there's no zoning. So there was nothing stopping people from just setting up beer breweries in their neighborhoods, literally in a garage. If you just fit the garage, build it out to be a brewery, it kind of blew my mind that no one was doing that. So that would be the reason why?
Yeah, the reason why is because of the licensing. You couldn't get a license unless you were actually producing that amount of beer, which is really, really hard to
tough.
do in Japan because there's not much space and you're going vertical.
Right.
The new breweries, that like the small micro, even nano ones that are like in Tokyo, Osaka, a lot of those, like their vats are on top of each other because they're going upwards.
They're going upwards, right.
And a lot of their given releases are releases just for their brew pub, and that's it because there isn't a lot of space. They can't turn over a lot of beer quick enough to reproduce over and over the same exact beer.
And their probably margins are in mind as well. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
So with all that said, let's the Sultan of Slow Drip, we are a show about building your palate, about tasting. We got 5 different beers here on the table. So why don't you just kind of walk us through what we have on the table here, and maybe we can start to crack them open and give them a shot.
Sure. So right now we have 5 beers to taste.
Okay.
We have Asahi, which is Japan's number one
That's the
selling
number
beer.
one seller, yep.
I haven't tasted these in a while, so
Okay,
this will be really, really fun little experiment. Sapporo Pure, which is my father-in-law's favorite beer now.
Okay.
Every time he comes by, he's dropping off food. Always usually asks about, is there any more Pure left, or if there's any beers for him. So I always
So the
give
Pure
him,
is just like the light version of the flagship?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yoho Brewing, Auni. This is Japanese IPA, which is much different than most American IPAs. We'll see that once we crack it open.
Yeah.
Kawaba, the Amber Sunrise, which I love amber ales, and so I haven't cracked this one open in a long time. That one's going to be a fun one.
That's a nice logo.
And then the last one here, Hitachino, which a lot of people recognize from the owl.
Right.
Most people don't know that Hitachino Nest was actually, they still are, a sake brewery.
Oh,
And
yeah,
so
yeah.
Kyoto
Yeah.
Brewery is the umbrella. They have been doing sake since like the 1800s and have been kind of producing high-end competition sakes, tower sakes, like barrel-aged ones. The generation below them, once those laws relax, were like, hey, let's start building out a craft beer scene. And so they did that, and we'll get to this really exciting one.
Yeah.
Not sure if you had it before, but
yeah, I have actually. So
Okay.
yeah, I'm really looking forward. It's been a while as well. My first exposure with Hitachino was in like 2013, 14. I think that's when they started making their push to come to America. So I'm really pumped to get in there and see if it tastes as good as I remember.
let's start off with
Let's do it.
number one.
We're kind of going a little bit light to more full-bodied.
So this beer here, obviously, is in like our crisp and clean section.
Right.
It's a Karakuchi, so it is dry.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll see just how dry it is.
Kanpai.
Kanpai. That is extremely crisp.
Yeah, it's very crisp. I get almost like a little bit of like fresh corn from it. Like almost like
that
you could have
corn
the
mash?
Yeah, you could have like Mexican food with this. Very clean beer. Reminds me a little bit of Modelo.
A little bit, yeah.
Just cleaner though. Like Modelo's a little bit kind of softer and sweeter. This one's just much more crisp and snappier.
Yeah, extremely crisp on that back end. I get like a small little like hop on like the side palate, just a tinge of it.
Yeah, I find Japanese beers on the whole don't really go hop forward, do they?
The macros don't really.
Okay.
Some of the microbreweries
They are a little more.
Yeah, they'll start pushing the limits of that. It's starting to get over there where a lot of hops are, it's expensive, right?
Right.
To produce a beer in Japan, they're importing a lot of things.
Yes.
Once they produce it there, then they pay the export tax
Right.
out. And that's why a lot of the Japanese beers that we carry are just higher in price. There's not much we can do about
It's
that.
tough. I mean, they don't, the amount of usable land in Japan is so, small. It's like 70% mountainous.
Yeah.
That's why the cities are so packed together, is because there's not really much place to do any living. And then when you talk about farming, you need flat land for that for the most part.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And so this Asahi here we can use as kind of like cleansing out our palate after like each
The
of the
base,
beers too.
yeah, I
'cause
think
it's-
that's, I was just about to suggest that. So yeah, I'm glad you said that. Do you find that most of your guests who come in here looking for a Japanese beer, do they normally gravitate initially towards something like an Asahi or a Sapporo or a Kirin even, I would say?
I would say Kirin has been one of the most sought after when they come in here.
Yeah.
They see it, they recognize it.
Right.
Price point wise, it's reasonably priced because Kirin, I believe, is still produced here in America.
Okay.
Same with Sapporo as well.
Right, that's in Canada, I believe, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, from a standpoint of they recognize it, once they recognize and kind of trust that flavor profile that it's
Right.
in, they can start exploring.
A little more full-bodied.
Yeah.
Yeah, full lager style.
Yeah, for sure. And one good thing about like our shop is everything is by single.
Yes.
And so they can offset like a Kirin with a Kawaba or any of the other like
Yeah.
craft brews that we carry here.
Yeah, I actually love that about the way you guys decided to do business, where essentially they have all these beers by the can, and then you can grab yourself a little 6-pack and do your shopping and build a 6-pack. You can buy a single can, you can buy 6, you can buy a case, you can buy whatever you like. And it allows you to kind of experiment, so you can get some things that you like, you like them, but some things that, you might get a great recommendation. There might be something that's kind of seasonal or just like a short time availability. So I think that's wonderful. And on top of that, you can mix the locals with the imports and then see kind of how they play against each other. So yeah, that's what I did the last time I came in. Actually, I got a little bit of both and just got really drunk that night. But just tried a bunch of different beers side by side just to see kind of, what everyone's doing. So
Yeah, I mean, if you'd like me to have you on the show again, I'd love to do another session where we can compare,
that would be
American style
actually
beer,
yeah.
Japanese style beer.
This is the embodiment of what the show is about, really. It's all these different tastes and locations and experiences. And yeah, I mean, I see what you have. Was that soju over there or
Soju.
Yeah. You got like all the different spirits. That's taking me back to college. Drunk tons of soju in college, and we used to do the soju boy. That we did our own soju boy thing, but like instead you get drunk off soju and just like. It sounds obnoxious. It was, I'm sure, but in any case, though, yeah, definitely love to have you back on the show to just explore some more options. Speaking of which, let's try this next one, the Sapporo Pure.
The Pure here.
Yeah, which I have never had actually. So
really?
Yeah, I do have a good memory for what Sapporo tastes like. Though,
Okay.
So.
This is completely different than what their flagship is.
Okay.
Yeah,
Question.
much lighter.
The standard like Tsingtao. Mm-hmm. Have you ever had the Tsingtao Nama, the one that has
no.
Yeah.
I haven't even seen that.
There's a white label Tsingtao.
Okay.
Yeah, I had it maybe 8 or 9 years ago.
Okay.
And I haven't seen it since. They used to have it at Mitsuwa. And I would always get that one because it was like crisper. It was more of a Tsingtao, but like more like Karakuchi style. And I was wondering like if you might have that on hand because I kind of looked for it. I haven't seen it since then.
I'll definitely look for it for sure.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of different beers that I've been trying to get over from our distributors to see, and working with the importers as well.
Yeah.
For us, like we can't directly import anything. We need a license for that, unfortunately. So we have to go through. Yeah. Everything needs a license at this point.
right? Yeah. So tough.
Well, so this Pure is 90 calories. It's low ABV at 4%. I think that's one of the reasons why my father-in-law loves it. Let's give it a whiff and taste. Ooh. I get like bready notes on this one.
Yeah. The nose is much more kind of focused than the Asahi. Yeah, I get like a toast, like fresh toast.
Oh, see, that lightness factor on that back end, it's not dry like Asahi. It's still like a clean finish, almost like water in that given sense.
I've had like kava or prosecco that's kind of like this, but just like with the sweetness dialed down quite a bit. I can see why you'd like this. Like, it's very clean.
Clean, refreshing.
You know you're drinking beer, but at the same time, it's not gonna like weigh your palate down.
Yeah.
Man, this is really nice. I can see it like with some fried whitefish. Like,
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, tempura for sure.
Yeah, for
Like,
sure. Tempura
Yeah.
would be great with this.
Yeah, it'll help cut through any of that, and like that little bit of like effervescence helps the crunchiness factor.
It definitely does.
Yeah, this is one where you're on a roof deck or out on your patio, you're barbecuing, drinking this.
If it's like too hot and you just need to kind of cool off, but you want to have a beer,
Yeah,
I will go for this.
for sure.
This is nice. You know what, too? There's something that's coming out of it that's almost like a really faint raspberry for me.
Oh, really?
Like a sour beer. Like a goes, but not fully goes, like not fully sour. Not
like a little bit of acidity on like.
Yeah, like a little bit of acidity, like the acidity you would find in a raspberry.
I could see that. I could. Yeah, it's like right after the middle palate, it like settles.
Yep, just what you're left with at the end, yeah. I like that. That's nice. I'm going to keep a little bit of each.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Third beer here is Auni, Blue Demon.
Nice.
Always smiling.
Yeah.
This one here is Yoho Brewing, and is a Japanese IPA. Japanese IPAs typically aren't as like hop forward or like completely bitter in that given sense. I remember this one having like a subtle bitterness to it. It's been quite a while since I've actually tried this one. And I remember a little bit of like caramel notes on like the aroma as well. Kanpai.
Oh, yeah.
A little pine,
Ooh,
right?
Yeah. Like pine and also pineapple.
Yeah.
Like a little bit of tropicalness. That's, yeah.
Yeah, it's not overly done. It's not overly hopped based off like the aroma right now.
Yeah, no, that's a step up for me. And I'm wondering, are they using fresh hops or are they using hop pellets? Because it doesn't have that like grassiness that you get with the pellets sometimes. Yeah.
So I kind of think if you're introducing an IPA to somebody who doesn't like IPAs, this would be a good starter.
Yeah.
Because it's not overly done. It's not overly hopped right up front.
Yeah.
It's subtle bitterness on that back end.
Yeah.
Very, very subtle. Like it just gradually builds and then kind of dissipates as you're sitting around.
It's very gentle. It's got almost a lychee kind of note going. And it's funny that you say introduction to IPAs, because for the longest time I thought that I didn't like IPAs. But it just turns out that I was like traumatized by my first introduction, because so on my 21st birthday, I go to a bar right off campus, and I asked the bartender, I'm like, I just turned 21, like, what's your favorite drink? And this jerk tells me that his favorite drink is the Dogfish Head 180-minute IPA with a sidecar of warm Grand Marnier.
Oh, wow. And
he just destroyed my palate right from the jump. I'm already like wasted, but like this is really not a good experience.
Yeah, that's definitely a wake-up call for sure.
Yeah, and it's
all
like,
the Dogfish Head stuff is extremely hoppy.
Yes.
It's in your face.
And then when you combine that with the warm Grand Marnier, it's like it just sticks to your tongue and it's just like syrupy. It's like it's so tacky. You just like feel like you stepped in it. And yeah, so for that reason, I thought like I didn't like IPAs, but and I think actually people have gotten better at making them too over time. The style is kind of, because just like with coffee, there's still this tendency to go like dark is better. And it's like, no, actually you need to balance out the profile and make sure the sweetness, the acidity, the sugars, all that stuff is balanced out properly. And it seemed like to an extent the IPAs kind of went that way as far as I can tell from the outside. And now it's like more fully crafted, I think.
Yeah, I think from I don't drink much coffee at all. I'm
Okay.
actually not a coffee drinker.
Okay.
But I do love porters and stouts, which is really weird.
Yeah.
Because it's the same flavor profile. Just not sure why I've never really gotten into coffee. But from
Well, we can change that now. I'm a converter, so.
From an IPA standpoint of like, it's hit this like plateau now where all the hops that they're trying to use, or even like Phantasm, which is like a Sauvignon Blanc powder. They're starting to like
Really?
use that in there as well to kind of change the flavor profiles.
Is it like dehydrated?
I'm
Sauvignon
not
Blanc,
too
or-
sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to look that up. You said Phantasm?
Yeah, Phantasm.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, but like a lot
I
of the
take that on like a little stick and just like one of those candy sticks, Sauvignon Blanc.
yeah, like a lot of the IPAs are definitely hop forward nowadays.
Okay.
The new hazies that have been created from the East Coast and kept moving forward
Yeah.
to like the Midwest and whatnot, introduce a lot of adjunct and like to kind of shield some of the bitterness out of it.
Gotcha.
Also kind of shield some of the pine, which like
Yeah.
this is palatable for most beer drinkers in general who say they don't like IPAs. Like it's not overly
Yeah.
done. Very, very subtle on all the given notes.
Yeah, it's the pine is really awesome. The lychee is just really supple. The mouthfeel is very luscious. It's got like especially coming off these two. So now we're getting into smaller production beers. So I think you get a little bit more viscosity typically in these smaller
Yeah.
productions.
Yeah, more medium-bodied. Still has good texture to it as well as it hits your tongue.
Yeah. And just finishes really nicely, like transitioning between almost like this kind of baked pineapple to pine, a little bit of like breadiness, which is nice too, like the toast. Yeah. this
Yeah,
is
I guess
awesome.
like that breadiness you're talking about, which I kind of get like a little caramel note that like that's where that middle palate switches over
Yeah.
to like the bitterness.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
I'm gonna have to revisit that one for
Yeah.
sure. To recommend that a little more often.
A little more often, I think. Yeah, yeah.
The ambers, love amber ales. This one's from Kawaba.
Okay, so what makes it amber exactly? Just for the audience.
It's malts. It's more on like that caramel notes side, and this one here is gonna be tinged sweeter
Okay.
overall. And I really enjoy how beers are in glass bottles.
Yeah.
Versus everything here in the States nowadays is like 16-ounce cans.
Right.
We did have like this this U.S.-based map where like we were supposed to put the bottle caps.
Oh, yeah,
like,
yeah,
where
and
they
then
came from.
yeah, yeah.
And we realized there aren't a lot of beers that are distributed
Yeah.
in bottles nowadays.
Yeah, I wonder if the move becomes to have a unique kind of tab opener.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not, you don't have to have a hole in the tab, and maybe you can put your logo on that or something. You know, there's always little ways to make your product a little more unique.
Yeah, oh, yeah, for sure.
Like for example, with my coffee, I just differentiate it by using a white cap on beer bottles. You know, I use the heritage beer bottles that are basically like, I guess this is a heritage bottle, a little fancier heritage, but I just put white caps on them, and whenever I make my deliveries, everyone's like, "Oh yeah, it's Kyoto Black," and they can tell just by looking at the cap. You know,
Yeah,
'cause
that's a great
no one else.
differentiator.
Yeah,
for sure.
You know, and maybe one day when I'm like bigger enough, I can do like these guys and actually put the logo on there. So
Yeah, there was one beer company that used to have for their tops, it was just a complete pull-off.
oh, like the old school, like
Yeah.
like the whole top.
Yeah, so like this entire portion would come right off.
That's
so then
cool.
you're drinking basically like it would be out of
Out
a
of a
glass.
cup.
Yeah.
Oh, or a glass.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. I'm very much a fan of people who think about the full drinking experience, because one thing about drinking from a can sucks. Drinking from a bottle is definitely better, but the glass is the best because you get the full olfactory experience. So
Right.
I'm glad there are people out there thinking about that.
Yeah. Let's give this amber a whirl. Kanpai again.
Kanpai. Oh wow.
Yeah, there's that caramel that like comes out right away for me.
You know, also too, there's a little bit of salinity there.
Like minerality-ish.
Yeah, yeah, like some mineral, something that smells almost like, so you know, like fajita. Just think about just bell peppers, just like cooked bell peppers only, like yellow and orange bell peppers.
Oh, that tinge of sweetness.
Yeah,
Oh, that's really clean.
yeah, it is. It's funny because off the nose you expect a lot. Off the nose you expect a different experience from what you get. Like
Yeah.
it's way cleaner than you expect. You're expecting like this real sweet kind of balmy,
Right.
but then it's like very plain.
This is what I like about Japanese beers overall. They're well
yeah.
balanced, and so this falls underneath our like malty and smooth section. Like you get that sweetness up front, but it's not overly done.
Yeah.
A good, really really smooth. I'm
You know, I got a different drinking experience based on how I drank it. So the first time that I had it, I took a sip and allowed it to kind of roll over my tongue, just like kind of took my tongue and rolled it around. And that was one experience. And then I just took it and just drank it like a normal everyday beer. And that was a completely different experience. Like rolling the tongue, I got less of the sweetness actually, and just more of like that kind of crisp, like clean kind of bell pepper experience. But then when I just drank it straight up, it was just like the caramel really came through.
Yeah, one thing I like to do with all of my tastings, I'll take the first sip as I normally would, as I would be drinking. Second sip's with like an aeration. Third is just having it sit on your palate to let like any of the effervescence, any of like the carbonation kind of die down. Then you can start seeing what it actually tastes like and what its fundamentals are in that given sense. I do that with a lot of wines and sakes as well.
Yeah. That reminds me of a chef that I used to work for said, whatever you taste, you have to taste it twice, at least.
Yes.
You know, that first time that you taste it is literally just to get your tongue kind of set. Second time, you're actually tasting it. Third time, now you're thinking about it, right? At least twice.
Right.
But 3 times, now you're really kind of getting in there in that one sitting. So Victor will tell you, when we taste things, we're getting deep in there and just tasting it so much. So it's good to hear that philosophy is just pervasive. And
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the fundamentals. Your initial taste, obviously, is going to have that first bias right up front.
Right.
But you have to get past that.
the
and see-
contrast bias, it's like, you're coming off something that's not it. It's similar, but it's not it. So you have to get your palate kind of acclimated to it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna actually go backwards a little bit too. Whoa.
Does the hoppiness come out more, or the
The
bitterness?
hoppiness comes out more, and the sweetness really comes out more.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
Just go back a little bit, and you'll see.
Yeah, the hoppiness does.
It really,
opens up quite
it
a
opens
bit.
up quite a bit. Yeah, like the pine especially.
Yeah, it's still not as much pine as like Daisy Cutter.
Right,
or
right, yeah.
in that given
Yeah, that's
sense.
so sharp.
Yeah.
It's so sharp. It's like, it's almost like the oils are still volatile, which I guess they might be because they're local. So, yeah. Speaking of pine too, I noticed you guys have these mas here.
Oh yeah, the Masu cups.
Yeah, those are really awesome. They're typically used for drinking sake. Have you ever drank beer out of one? Is that?
I haven't, mainly because like hinoki wood, it's just wood, and so it's antibacterial, antifungal. But to clean it, you don't use any type of chemicals at all because that will absorb into it.
Right.
So you just rinse it with warm water, and then let it dry. I didn't want to try to like.
You think beer might foul them or something like that?
Yeah, that's where I haven't seen anybody drink beer. Definitely not wine because that will stain it for sure.
That will stain it, yeah. I was just wondering. I mean, I've had whiskey out of one. Whiskey's a little different from beer, though. That's not gonna foul the wood. I was just curious, but not saying people should do that. But I just got me thinking. I see the pine here. I'm making associations. It might be possible to season them though. Like if you drink enough of a spirit out of them, that they've kind of reached their limit for absorption.
Right.
And you've seasoned the glass enough that now, or the wood enough that now, it won't absorb the whatever else you're drinking out of it necessarily. So
Yeah, I can definitely try to experiment with ones that aren't branded. Like we branded
Yeah.
these over in Japan and then had them shipped over.
yeah, they're really nice.
Yeah,
Are they burned? Is that-
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
They created we sent over our logo and our mascots. The mascots are in the center of it. So like it's Naomi and I.
I think the way you guys handled the logo with the toe is so clever.
That's definitely a nod to Naomi's one of Naomi's friends from college.
That's
she's
really
a
clever,
graphic
yeah.
designer. She killed it with this.
Yeah.
With our logo, our mascots. One funny fact out of like our mascots, when it was originally created, it was us and like my ears on the mascots were like really big, and so I asked her to change that. That was like the one thing that's the only thing that I commented on.
That's so funny. So there's a celebrity in Japan named Samna. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's like a comedian, and he's really known for like having huge teeth, right? But that became his trademark. So maybe you
Gotcha.
could
I don't
adopt
think-
it and just.
I don't
mean,
think I
your
have
ears are
big
not that
ears,
big.
yeah.
I think my ears are bigger than
Yeah.
yours. Yeah. Why did she do that? Like, you got small ears actually.
Yeah, I don't know. It just turned out that way.
Okay. Maybe I should put that on my logo. Big ears.
Big ears. Last one here is
All right,
going
let's
to be
get to the big boy here.
Yeah, this one's definitely on the wild and funky side.
Yeah.
It could fall underneath like sour and tart as well.
Yeah.
But it is definitely an acquired taste for beer drinkers.
Yeah, it's like an imperial almost. What?
Yes.
8%.
Believe so. Let's see.
Right there.
Yeah, 8%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so Hitachino is a sake brewery, and so they're called Kyoto Brewery.
Mm-hmm.
They create a lot of high-end sakes. We used to carry one of their taru sakes that was done in cedar, really cedar forward, good like cedar tingliness on the back portion of things. Like I was explaining earlier, once the laws relaxed, they ended up working with a Canadian brewery and imported their equipment. That Canadian brewery helped them build out like the infrastructure, helped them figure out how to brew in Japan, and kept working with them over and over to create this brand, which has done extremely well
Really
here
well
in the States.
especially considering how like it's significantly priced higher when you look at it on the shelf next to other beers.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it really delivers, and that's kind of a testament to it, the fact that it's been around for so long.
Oh, for sure.
At that significantly higher price point, but people still gravitate towards it. So
Yeah, there was one customer in here last night and realized that like they were looking at the white ale and the price point for it, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I paid double the price of this at a restaurant."
Yeah.
Which is kind of ridiculous.
it is kind of yeah. When you see Hitachino on a restaurant menu, you're like,
Yeah, that and the Yoho Brewing now is.
Yoho. I feel like your pricing on the Yoho is really good.
Yeah.
Like it's usually not that affordable.
Yeah,
Like,
we try to keep everything affordable for a consumer. Same from a standpoint of like coming into the shop and trying to find something you like. We wanted to make sure that everything was by singles, so that you can try something. You can try it here if you wanted to as well, which is much different than most retail stores. If you like it, take a couple home, but you can offset those higher price points of Japanese beers or any of our imports with the local ones.
Yeah.
And that's
Dollar cost average into your beer.
yeah. I mean, like, you can either go home at like another retail shop where you're buying a 4-pack of 16-ounce beers at like $16 to $17, or you offset it with.
You mix it up with it, yeah. Are you guys doing the instant ramen thing at all yet, or?
Yes, we are. Yeah.
That's awesome. Cool. Yeah.
So all of our ramen here, we'll just heat up some hot water for you.
Nice.
You can use that as that continues to move forward, and like we're building up steam with all like the ramen. Maybe that's another episode we could do.
Yeah, when I first
down.
came in here, I was like, yeah, you guys should do instant ramen with the beers in there. He's like, oh yeah, no, we're considering that. It's just at the time COVID was stopping you from being able to import the ramen. So,
yeah, a lot of import in general for Japan has been
Tough.
an issue. Yeah, especially with new taxes and whatnot.
Yeah.
One of our beers actually was phased out because
that's tough.
Yeah, it ended up increasing by quite a bit per case.
Yeah.
And just trying to pass that along to the consumer,
It's tough.
we couldn't do.
Yeah.
I mean, you're paying for a 12-ounce beer that was north of like 7 or 8, and at that point,
that's a hard ask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is. Well, let's get into this this wild and funky one.
Yeah, let's do
Kanpai.
it. Kanpai. Woo. Oh wow.
Yeah, that's like tart right up front.
Yeah, it's
on,
tart. Yeah, very tart. Almost like a pomegranate, cherry, like.
Yeah, I was thinking like dark cherries.
Yeah.
This kind of reminds me of some wines.
Wow. That's really good.
That is. That's an interesting beer. That's one that's extremely unique. But it's very polarizing, though. You're either going to like it or you're not.
See, I like really weird, funky, sour, kind of esoteric experiences. This actually, you know what this reminds me of a lot is there's a cider that we had. Itageki, I think is what it's called. It sounds like a Japanese word, but yeah. This tastes like that cider. Like you pour it from like this really high height to get it to mix up, and that actually is what causes the effervescence to come out of the
interesting.
solution.
Okay.
And this tastes so close to that.
Yeah, it has to me, it has like a vinegary aftertaste too. Like if you let it sit.
Yeah. I could actually see using this as a ingredient in a vinaigrette for a salad. Like just a little bit of it with some balsamic, maybe some ginger.
Yeah,
Just as like the base.
It's a wild ride in
It
your
is.
mouth. Like it's sour a little bit up front, and then it kind of switches to that barrel age because it's sake cask age.
Yeah.
And then you get that ending finish of like vinegar, like subtle vinegar, not like.
Yeah, no, it's not like put you off vinegar. It's like a kombucha, just really nice, light, clean vinegar. I think when people hear vinegar, they automatically think like white vinegar. And
Yeah.
It's like, no, there's levels to vinegar. There are vinegars that are so great just to have on their own. Actually, when me and my wife went to Paris, we went to a shop that sold boutique vinegars and olive oils.
Oh, interesting.
And they would just put a little dab on your hand and you just lick it off. And just straight vinegar, straight olive oil, phenomenal just by itself. Like,
I'll have to experiment with some of that.
yeah, I mean, you'd be surprised by how expensive some of those vinegars get. They'll be like 75-year age
Oh wow.
vinegar. Yeah. Like cask aged, really incredible stuff.
I feel like the aroma kind of has died down.
Yeah.
At least maybe it's from just sniffing it over and over.
It's actually become a lot more tame, and it's starting to remind me of something else. I know what it reminds me of. So, do you know the vinaigrette that you put on raw oysters?
Oh yeah.
That's what it reminds me of. Like with
It has that same quality.
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
the same, yeah.
Yeah.
It's salinity and like minerality and just like the shallots and everything, like that kind of thing going.
Yeah.
That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah. This would be a great pairing with that. We should try
I
that
think
one
it
time.
would be.
Yeah.
I think this would be incredible with oysters.
We could try to get Pescadero down the street to.
They have oysters?
I'm pretty sure they do.
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
I think that's a stellar pairing, actually. This and oysters. Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause you wouldn't need anything else. You wouldn't
You
need. You wouldn't even need like the lemon or
Nothing.
whatnot.
You just have them. Like, I'm just. Yeah. No. You wouldn't need a thing. Holy smokes.
Yeah, it's definitely much more palatable. I guess maybe fifth or sixth time around that I've had this now.
Yeah. Were you, like, kind of skittish about carrying it when you first had it? Were you like,
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I didn't know if people would gravitate towards it. I knew it was gonna be very, very polarizing.
So
where
you got to preface it like, hey, guys, look.
Yeah.
If someone comes in for like a sour beer or a goes, maybe you can point them towards this, like say, hey, this is pretty cool, but otherwise you don't.
Yeah. Like if they're looking for something unique, something different, a little funky, this is one where I'll always point them towards.
Yeah. Okay. Question of the day.
Ooh. Question of the day. I guess question of the day for the audience would be, what beer or beer style would you want to describe yourself as, and why?
Like, am I an amber? Or am I
Are you an IPA? Are you
a Hitachi no?
XH?
You go well with oysters?
Yeah. Or you could be, just extremely dry. Like
Yeah. I love it. Thank you so much for this really eye-opening tasting. I think people don't really get to see this full spectrum of Japanese beers, so it's great to have a shop like this located just in the heart of Chicago.
Yeah, we feature quite a bit of Japanese beers, trying to get more over. Also expanding outside of Japanese beers. We have Korean beers, some from China, Hong Kong, working on getting some Filipino beers as well.
Okay.
Thai ones are on the shelf already.
That's
and
awesome.
The Thai craft scene actually is another one that's starting to boom in Bangkok, where they're doing...
Had no idea there was a craft scene in Bangkok.
And I don't know if... I doubt they're going to be like distributing over,
Okay.
but it's very, very small production.
That's cool.
That's one where I'd like to get over there once travel restrictions and whatnot get back to somewhat normal, and go check it out.
Well, we'll definitely keep our ears open for that. I think afterwards I'll have ears like this and put that on my logo. So yeah, thank you again, man. Really
No
appreciate
problem.
it. Yeah.
All right.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. Peace.